We will now open the January 17th school committee meeting with, as usual, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As usual, this is a public meeting and it's being recorded and can be accessed via Dedham Television. We will now open the general public comment for the meeting. If there's anyone who would like to comment, please step to the podium, recite your name and address. You have 3 minutes per comment. No one? Cool. Thank you, everyone. I will now move to the student representative update with our student representative, Nala.
Good evening, everybody. So the weekly school summary for the high school is that students in Art 1 and Graphic Design had the opportunity to meet with designer and mass art instructor Tony Leone. The presentation focused on the creation of designs throughout history and how different artists approach the process. Students had the opportunity to ask questions and to see examples of designs created by mass art students. Students in DNA science and biotechnology also had the opportunity to speak with a cell biologist from Thermo Fisher Scientific over Zoom. During the discussion, she described her role in the development of gene therapy products for cancer treatment and provided insight into the FDA approval process and the steps involved in introducing these therapeutics to the market. She discussed her education, career path, future goals, and answered many questions about her experiences working in the fields of biotechnology. Yesterday, the DHS concert band and a cappella choir performed at the town's observance of MLK Day at the Dedham Middle School. Food and refreshments were provided by local businesses. This was a sponsored event by the Dedham Human Rights Commission. Additionally, last Wednesday, Mrs. Harden's honors physics class held a homemade boat race at the Dedham Pool. This was an in-school field trip for all students in honors physics. The students used their understanding of buoyancy to build boats solely out of cardboard and duct tape. The cardboard boats were paddled across the Dedham Pool by at least one person from each group in the quickest time. As for the district summary, community members were invited to attend an informational forum on proposed plans for adding solar panel canopies over open parking areas at Dedham High School, Dedham Middle School, Avery Elementary School, and the ECEC. Oakdale had an assembly presented by the Arts for Learning Massachusetts ensemble entitled Become Your Dreams, History of Hip Hop. They've also hosted a 5th grade student council that led the school assembly honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This assembly was an opportunity for the Oakdale community to reflect on the legacy of this great civil rights leader. As for the upcoming news at the district, the middle school's annual tradition continues. The Dedham Police Department is sponsoring a ski trip for the Dedham Middle School students to Gunstock Mountain Resort that will take place on the 21st of February. Additionally, ECEC are having their annual winter window stroll this Friday, January 19th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., where families can browse around the campus and view the beautifully created winter windows that classes will create. As for the upcoming news at the high school, freshmen at the high school are invited to attend a mid-year exam study session, Cocoa Cookies and Cram, tomorrow from 2:30 to 3:30 in the library. Teachers will be there to answer questions and run review sessions. Link leaders will also be there to support them as they prepare for the first mid-year exams. After the study sessions, they would have hot chocolate and cookies for them to enjoy. The National Honor Society is also running a clothing drive connected to Katie's Closet in Hyde Park. Katie's Closet is an organization that helps local students in need that meet their basic necessity of clothing items, toiletries, and shoes. The box for collection is placed in the main lobby until January 26th. All students and families are welcomed and encouraged to donate. To conclude, The DHS Performing Arts Company is presenting its annual family concert and sing-along featuring songs from Descendants on Saturday, January 27th at 10 a.m. at the DHS Auditorium. Costumes are encouraged. Theme pictures and concessions will be available. Tickets are available online or at the door. All proceeds benefit the Performing Arts Company. So that's the weekly summary for the district. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you as always. That was great. That was amazing. Any questions or comments?
Can you repeat the date for the sing-along?
The sing-along is January 27th. It's on a Saturday.
You can address Ms. Mal.
I'm going to be a main, but kind of sad now. And yes.
Well, given that I know all the songs, I'll probably be there. Okay, we're going to move on to the superintendent's update.
All right. As always, a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. I want to highlight two of our Team Dedham members that are doing a mid-year retirement. Oftentimes, we celebrate our retirements in June, at the end of the year, but this year we have Joan Bedgen and Amy Maloof from the high school, and I just wanted to wish them well and celebrate them and thank them for their years of service to the Dedham Public Schools. I know they'll be greatly missed by their team members. Also, want to highlight a wonderful opportunity for our Dedham school and town community. On Monday, the Human Rights Commission, as mentioned by Nala, celebrated Martin Luther King and celebrating civil service. And the evening was grounded in Dedham Public School students, which I just adored. We had our ensemble, our a cappella group, which celebrated with us at the holidays. They performed, as well as our jazz ensemble. And a few of our students were recognized for their level of service throughout the community. And I have a picture here of Will, who was highlighted because he takes the time to interpret for students who come to our high school that don't speak English as a first language, and he is able to speak Haitian Creole. And so he will take them on tours of the high school, and he's a graduating senior this year, so his legacy to Dedham Public Schools is he is going to tape record a high school tour for students in Haitian Creole, so they'll be able to still orient through Will's leadership. So I was just thrilled to see some of our middle school and high school students celebrated and honored for their compassion and dedication to making the world a better place. Since we last met, some of the superintendent events that have been attended across town and the district, I have hosted 4 half-day residencies at Avery, at the high school, at the Green Lodge, and at the ECEC. So I've spent half a day there, half the day spent with the principal, visiting classrooms, talking with teachers, talking with students, and then at the end, I host a forum for educators that are interested in meeting me or talking with me or bringing issues of concern or celebration to me, and those have been really well attended, and I'm learning so much about our district, and that information will be included in my superintendent entry plan when I bring that to you next couple of months. I've attended the solar panel community forum. I want to let the community know that we're having an additional forum for neighbors and interested members of the community, and that's been added to next week, the 24th, and that will be held in the evening at the Dedham Middle School. Dr. Kelly and I met with Senator Rush and Representative McMurtry to discuss Dedham Public Schools celebrations and challenges, and to advocate for state and local state funding. I presented the capital budget I put the CDC. I wasn't sure what the acronym was in Dedham.
Capital expenditure, CEC.
CEC, with Dr. Kelly, Matt Hefner, and Dr. Langenhorst. I met with the Merrimack College to learn about their fellowship program. So this is a program that some of our local colleges offer, where for a nominal fee, you are able to sponsor a fellow who will come and do direct teaching in your district for a year, and that will serve as a educational experience towards a master's degree, but also support your students and staff as an educator in the district. And so we are exploring the possibilities of that program. I attended the Human Rights Commission, Martin Luther King celebration. This Saturday, I will spend the entire day strategic planning as a board member with the Horizon team. And that is an organization that comes together to support some of our Dedham students for really enriching summer experiences. And tomorrow night, I will present at the town-sponsored community forum on supporting our new migrant families. So anybody that's interested in that, that is on the select board agenda for 7:10 tomorrow evening. That's all I got for you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any questions or comments for the superintendent?
Keep us updated on the fellowship program.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the education reports. First on the agenda is the Dedham High School Senior Interproject recipients. We'll call up Assistant Principal Kelly Cook and some DHS students to give us an update.
Good evening, everyone. I just want to say thank you so much for having us tonight. We're really excited to share this opportunity. I want to just introduce the team that's here. Our career counselor, Ashley Mansfield, she really has spearheaded this work, and so she'll be kind of sharing this presentation time with me. We have one of our students, Ella Welch, who's going to be participating in the internship program. We're excited to have her here tonight, and our friend Nyla who will also be participating as well. So we're very excited to share this opportunity. So I'd like to start by kind of giving a little context and just background of how we got here. And then I'll ask Ashley to share some of the work she did to really make this happen for our students. So I think most of us in the room know that, the needs of our students is ever changing. We have a workforce that's ever evolving. The cost of college is rising and rising. And so what many of us, knew as a traditional high school experience needs to change, and it doesn't quite meet all the needs of our students. So this particular program is just one step in the direction of, meeting those needs and evolving with the times. So our goal with this program is to provide our students with relevant real-world experience that's going to help them, extend the skills that they're building in the classrooms at Dedham High School and, transition those skills into real-world experiences. So we all know our students every day are working on communication, collaboration, organization, time management. They're going to get the opportunity in these real-world job experiences to transfer those skills and, just have these amazing experiences in careers that they're interested in. So we want them to be able to better understand their strengths and interests, understand themselves as, people, adults in a career, because whether they go to college or into the workforce, whatever they're doing, they're making an investment in their future, and we want to best prepare them for that. And we really see this as such a prime opportunity to do that. So this year is a pilot. We have a small cohort of students who will be participating in the internship. And we're thrilled for the ones who are going to be participating. We'll let them talk a little bit about what they're interested in. But like I said, it's a small group, so it was a very competitive application process. And our goal through the pilot is to make sure that we learn as a school community. We'll be getting feedback from all the stakeholders, and just the whole process will help us to better understand how we can serve more and more students with this program for years to come. So with that said, I want to just ask our career counselor, Ashley Mansfield, to talk a little bit about the process. I want to really recognize all the work she's done. She has done an immense amount of research. She's been extremely thoughtful in the process. I think we had at our first meeting last school year, she got, our whole leadership team on board, really had done our homework, done the research, and made it really easy to say, yes, let's move forward with this. So, I just realized our presentation isn't going, but are you okay without it? Okay. All right. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Ashley for a little bit to tell you about the process. And we just selected our candidates last week, so she'll talk a little bit about that as well. All right, Ashley.
Great. Good evening. So I'll talk a little bit about the logistics, how we are, where we are right now, and where we're hoping to go by the end of this school year. So at the beginning of this year, once we kind of got the go-ahead, I reached out to a couple of districts in the community that are also using senior internship as a way for students to really utilize Term 4 and gain some real-world experience, get out of the classroom and develop their communication skills, and just really see how a business runs, what they may like, maybe what they don't like, and kind of tailor that to what a job looks like. So Canton High School, Milton High School, Norwell High School all have programs that are senior internships. They all look a little bit different, so that's why we're excited for this pilot, because it gives us a chance to really see what works in Dedham and how we can make it work for our kids. So once we got the real go-ahead, we started with, we created an application. We had an email go out to all parents and families about the opportunity, and then offered an info session to seniors who are interested in learning more. We had probably about 35 students attend, and we really talked about, what this looked like. You're not in school Term 4, you're working. It's 30 hours a week. This is taking the place of, your last semester senior year. So it really is a commitment. It's representing your school and your community, and so we explained the process. We had students submit a resume. Some students made a meeting with me to kind of tweak their resume, make it look good before they submitted it. And then once the application closed, we had a committee formed of myself, Ms. Cook, Dr. Dubé, and guidance counselor, and 3 academic teachers. So really a nice, well-rounded group to assess different things like attendance, academics, career interests, how many AP exams they're taking. Really a lot went into it to really determine, we want this to be successful. We want business partners to say, let's do it again. We'll talk to somebody else. Here's a couple more placements. So starting small, we selected, so we have 7 students this year that will be doing it. Oh, great. So thank you. So this is just the timeline on what we hope to do moving forward. So now that the students are selected, I will start reaching out to businesses. Hopefully the Dedham Public Schools houses 3-ish students. We've had a great partnership from our students in Delta go to the ECEC, it's the Avery, to Oakdale. So we're hoping to grow on that relationship and that partnership for the students that are interested in education. And then we'll hold some X-Block workshops for students to practice interview skills, work on their application, figure out their schedule to give to their employers, things like that. So, and then there's a nice little link to the brochure if you feel like checking it out at some point. This is for our employers, just to say this is exactly what we're expecting on the business side of things. And then the next slide had just the kind of the makeup of the 7 seniors who are selected. So these are the interests that they have. It's a really nice range of things, so hospitality management, psychology and teaching, business management and real estate, the medical field, music therapy, early education, and multilingual learner education and translation services. So again, we're really hoping to call on our schools and businesses in the community to support these interests. And then just for the logistics, students will be expected 30 hours, just like they'd be in school. They will be reporting to one supervisor in the business, and then I will be connecting with both the student and the employer on a weekly basis to make sure everyone's kind of doing what they need to do. Okay, so I'll pass it over to our students. If you guys just maybe want to say what you're interested in, and I think whatever else. So, thank you.
So I plan on doing my internship for music therapy. That's the career field I plan on going into, and basically it's using music and like musical techniques and skills to help people gain or improve motor skills or cognitive skills if they have a disability or anything along those lines. And I've shadowed 2 music therapists, and one of them was from Newbridge on the Charles, and that's where I plan on doing my internship. But that's TBD. But yeah, that's right.
So I am planning on doing my internship at a local hotel because I have a huge passion for hospitality management. So I just feel very grateful for this opportunity, especially being one of 7. So I believe that this is going to give me, good experience, especially before college. So yeah, I'm just very grateful.
So I'm so glad you could hear from both of our students tonight. A few others really wanted to make it this evening, but they just found out 2 days ago that they were accepted, and so it was kind of short notice, and they had some conflicts. But we're really excited about this group that is participating in the cohort. We feel like it's going to be such a great opportunity for us, the community. It's going to be a learning experience for everybody. I want to thank Ashley again for all of the time and energy she has put in to do something that is going to be so beneficial to our students, and not just this year, but building on it for years to come. I want to just thank too the teachers who participated in the panel: Tricia Rocha, Andrea Andrew, Kyle Zinchuk, and Molly Young, for taking their time. It was a really thoughtful process because it was competitive. We had multiple applicants. We had to choose a small cohort, and they were really, really thoughtful. It was nice because it was such a great mix. Some of us knew the students, some of us didn't know them as well, and it was nice to have the different perspectives. We're thrilled. We can't wait to get started, and we appreciate you taking the time to hear from us today. So, does anyone have questions for us?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? I'm sure we have them. It's to me.
Not a question, just a comment. I think this sounds like an excellent opportunity. I am a big believer of feedback and hearing how things are going, so it would be great if the 2 of you and the other 5 could come in before graduation and let us know how it went, and any shared experiences or what you wish that you had done that you didn't, things like that. I think it would be great to hear how it actually played out, and what you guys learned. And then maybe by then you'll know what your next steps are too. So it'd be great to hear how this is leading into the next phase.
We also, so most of the schools have like an end of the year project too, so we'll have them come in, invite the community, employers, and the students and their families to kind of present about their experience. So
that's great.
You guys obviously are welcome, and we'll share that date as soon as we have it.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Galant.
Real quick, just a question. How many students applied?
We had
11 or 12.
12 total applied, and we had a goal of selecting anywhere from 5 to 7, and we went with 7 because it was. I mean, the applicants were so good that we went with the top of our cap.
Got it.
But yeah.
Thank you. This is an awesome program. Can't wait to hear more about it. Thank you.
Ms. Briggs?
So thank you for doing this. I know this is something that we've been mulling around for years, and this is such an awesome opportunity for the students. Do we have all of the employers lined up yet?
We don't. So that is.
Because I'm already like making a mental list of who I'm calling tomorrow about this.
That would be wonderful. I've connected with the new Dedham Youth Commission director, who also has a lot of ties to the community. So we have a meeting next week, now that we've selected our students, to kind of go back and say these are where we need the placement. So obviously, Dedham Public Schools, I think, we'll figure it out. But for like hospitality, medical, I think is honestly going to be the biggest challenge. So anyone has a connection, I was planning to call some places and, get creative too. But I think that will be the hardest one to place.
Yeah, and it would be great if it could be Dedham Medical and be local.
For sure.
And right here in town.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the one-stop, there are so many different, down at University Ave now,
Yeah.
There are quite a few that are local, but we want to make it as easy as possible for the students to participate.
For sure.
And I do really appreciate you taking a small group this year, and let's really make this successful so we can grow it. It's just awesome to see kids kind of stretch themselves and put themselves out there and try something that they didn't hear of. This kind of ties into the superintendent's update, which was also awesome, that, kids met with an artist and a biochemist, biotechnologist, scientist. These are the opportunities. Kids only, when they're not presented with lots of options, they stick with what they know. And so this is really nice to see. And if Newbridge doesn't work out, there's a few music people around. We'll figure it out. All right. And let us know if you need help. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Acosta?
Ditto, everyone kind of covered everything, but I'm just really, really excited for this. I know this is something that I felt really passionate about, just being a relatively recent grad. But no, just the sort of soft skills that the kids are going to be able to learn, like, a lot of times you can't necessarily get them, especially when you're in like an entry-level starting job. So to sort of jump the line, get the experience. I saw that they're going to be getting a letter of recommendation too. All of that is great because no matter what they go on to, whether it's the workforce, college, or some combination, the internship is going to help. So thank you. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how it all turns out and hope it goes well.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I would just like to piggyback on what everyone else said. To come back and hear how everything turned out would be phenomenal, and I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for the time.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the time. Thanks.
And from something exciting to the most exciting thing, continued discussion of the 2025 school calendar. Any new developments in the calendar world?
Well, included in your folder today, we, in an effort to really have educators share in the development of our district calendar, I put out a poll for educators to reply to. The late start, which is after Labor Day, obviously leads to a later end of year. So as you already know, our end of year is Monday, June 23rd, and with 5 snow days, it leads us to the last week of June. So in an effort to support graduating seniors, I know there were some parents concerned about getting kids enrolled in summer camps. and remaining keeping in the integrity of the last couple weeks of school, because a lot happens that's important in the students' development in those last couple weeks of school. We put out a question to our teachers, and in that poll, it was, I think there were 150 educators that responded to the question. I think we landed at, I had Amy send the latest data to you, so was it 59%? 52% in favor of eliminating religious holidays. So that would be our fall recognizing a Jewish holiday, either Yom Kippur or Rosh Hashanah, and Good Friday. So. I also did review the contracts, and just to make sure there was language for teachers who did want to take time to celebrate and honor their religious holiday. And it is contractually noted that teachers are permitted to do that, as provided they, I think it's required 48 hours of notice to the superintendent of schools. Yeah.
And that extends to students as well, right? Like students are able to take excused absences?
Yes.
Just want to clarify that. And I also want to note that 9% put that they have no preference to.
9%?
Because I think that's important to, like 52 sounds like it's really close, but it's 52 to 39% saying to keep it and 9% saying they have no preference. So I think makes a little difference.
And this obviously wouldn't be for this year. It would be moving forward, possibly next year, but we have contractual things to iron out before any of this could be implemented anyway.
Correct.
So it could potentially be multiple years down the road.
Correct.
But it is good information to know.
Yep. Yep.
I just have a question. If there's a certain amount of students and teachers that are absent from a day, I guess that's my fear on Good Friday. I know finding the source, and we're looking it up about Good Friday, and suppose that's one of the highest absentee rated days for a school system that has school on that day. And let's say 50% of the school district's out. How does that affect our time on learning? Like, does that come into play at all? If we have 50% of the system out, does that, I guess, not count as a school day? That makes sense, my question?
Yeah, it makes sense.
There is a threshold. I don't recall what it is exactly, but yes, that would, if a certain percentage of the student population is not there, that day does not count towards the 180, the 900, or the 990.
Okay. I guess that would be my fear of Good Friday.
And presumably, we would know 2 days in advance, because it would be required that educators provide. We wouldn't know the students, but we would know the educators 48 hours in advance.
And then if we would go down that route and 50% of our educators are going to be out, call it snow day? Like, is that what I mean, I'm not trying to be a joke when I say it, but
Yeah,
I mean,
it would be a challenge, and it would put an undue pressure on other educators, so it would be definitely something that we would have to find an alternative to. That wouldn't be sustainable for kids.
Oh, Leanne?
Yeah, I know that I've been the biggest proponent for not having school on the 23rd of December, or whenever the Friday is. We this year runs a little bit later. We are scheduled for a full day on Friday the 20th, but we're off Monday. How close are we to time on learning if we did a half day on that Monday? And it's not desirable, but I mean, are we close enough that we can count that, or are we too close to time on learning limits if we had a half day? It wouldn't count.
I haven't looked at the spreadsheet recently. I could certainly go back and rerun the numbers, but to my recollection, we are quite tight at the elementary, and we're sitting with a degree of wiggle room at the secondary level, but I wouldn't say it's huge, but I think we're very tight at the elementary. Last I calculated the time on learning for our DESE reporting requirements.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, if you can look at that. That's the only other place I can see that we can.
Anyone else?
With the risk of getting screamed at on this, What about on that day, on the 23rd that Ms. Riggs was talking about? We swap that for a professional day? Because part of it is like the kids in buses and getting the transportation in the area. What about making that a professional day and going to school on a different professional day? Swapping a professional day with that day. So we go to school, I'm arbitrarily picking a date.
Right, like the 14th of May, right?
Yeah. Make go to school in there. Yeah, I'm saying it's wrong, but.
Yeah, no, but if you're swapping a whole day, it would have to be starting students on the 4th and swapping that out? Is that what you're saying, and have a full-day professional development?
No, the yellow's professional development, right, in these things?
Yeah, but those are half-days that already count as full days, so that doesn't...
So what if we swap, I guess, the half day with the full day on the 20th? If we swap the full day and the 20th, that's a full day off, I guess, with the half?
The 23rd.
Now you're going to confuse me.
No, I see where you're going, but I think the days, I don't think the days work.
The only full-day professional developments that aren't with elections in our buildings are the 2nd and 3rd.
But I guess,
3rd and 4th.
I guess could we make the 23rd a half a day? Make the 23rd a half day, and then take off a different half day and make that a day off?
You mean another half day?
A full day?
Yeah.
A full day.
Professional.
Make it a full professional development day
So
for
he's-
teachers. I see.
Yeah. I had this all clear in my mind before I went.
No,
You're making sense.
The afternoon of the 23rd professional development.
Yes.
And going to school a full day on one of the other half-days.
Yes.
I hear you.
Would that solve our problem?
It's if I'm understanding you correctly.
No, because we need a full day.
It's neutral in terms of impact on hours and days. It's a swap, not a reduction.
Yeah, I had this all worked out in my mind better.
Go back to the
If I'm
table.
misunderstanding.
I'll email you this week, because this worked out better in my mind. So much
It
better.
usually does.
Always does.
Any more questions, comments? Mr. Acosta?
I know we sort of touched on potentially seeing if the teachers might be interested in starting the week before. Is there a way to potentially get that feedback in the same way that the holidays were pulled out, or is that, I'm not necessarily sure if that has to go through the union or not, so I don't want to, at the risk of that, I don't know, but I'm just curious if there's a sense of that.
In my conversations with union leadership, it's not an option at this time.
Anyone else?
Sorry if this was already said, I was fumbling with the charger, and thank you to Sue for the extension cord. But thank you for soliciting that information. I think kind of the takeaway, or something that I mentioned at our last meeting, was that there are so many variables that go into this, and it's a really tricky decision, and I think there are a lot of strong feelings about it. So just to reiterate again, like, the more information, if folks do have strong feelings about it, just to reach out to us, because that happens after it's solidified often.
Yep.
So, we're looking for creative solutions, and I think that's evident by all the information gathering and the ideas that are being tossed around, none of which are ideal, I don't think, but this is a tricky year.
If the committee is open to it, I can send the same poll home to families.
Yes.
To see.
Oh, I think that's brilliant.
Okay.
Before our next meeting.
Yeah.
If we could do it, give them, 5 days to answer.
Okay.
Respond. I would like to see more staff response as well. Like, 150 doesn't feel like
What
out of
percentage is
700.
that?
It's 25% of the overall staff. It's about half of Unit A. I don't know. I don't know which if it went to all employee groups or.
When did this go out? Like, what was the turnaround?
It went out, well, Monday was a holiday, so it did go out on Monday, but it was a holiday, so.
Maybe one more push of that?
Yeah.
To families?
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, 150 in 48 hours isn't bad.
Agreed.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
but more would be
Right,
great.
well, that's why I think we.
Like a little more one way or the other,
Yeah.
and I agree that that 39 is not as strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can push it, I can push both of them out.
That'd be great.
And give them a week, and then bring the updated information to you. I like the idea of participating, having our community participate to the extent that they're able to, so.
This has a huge impact on educators, families, everyone, staff.
And the thing is if this is this one tricky year and we end up pulling out the religious holidays, is that then that's it, right? For just this tricky year? Is there
Well,
other
we wouldn't
ways?
be able to do it for this year anyway because of the contractual.
Yeah, but what if we were to, for whatever year we're pulling
Right.
it out, right, that's it. And if it's just because of that one tricky year.
Yeah, but I think the reasoning.
Yeah, will we put them back in?
Every year.
The reasoning behind that is it's honestly something that has come up every year in some iteration. There's never an ideal year for the calendar. This is egregious to say the least. But it is something that has been floated every year that I've been a part of it.
Yeah.
So to have some solid data around this thing that is kind of just put out there softly is very important. It could go no place. It could be essentially dead already because of the contracts. So, but it's good information to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we have to look and we have to turn over every stone, as they say. Any more on the calendar? Mr. Acosta.
Sorry, one last question. If, under this current calendar, what would be the date of graduation?
13 days?
The
12 days? 12 school days
Is it 12 days, Sarah?
It is.
I know we just did this, but
Yes.
I already forgot.
Yeah, it was late. It's late.
Okay.
And I guess that was the question I asked last meeting was, is that impacted by snow days? Because, I remember when my daughter was a senior, there was nothing but wishes for snow days because they didn't have to make them up as seniors. And I think that's always been the belief. So it's impacted if we have 5 snow days and then
That's Flag Day conversation.
that's Flag Day conversation. Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Right. Or do we just keep it as the second Saturday and
I didn't hear a word you said.
Can you restate that, Sarah?
I know you're louder than that.
I can be, Victor, you're right. We built in some contingency days for snow days when we moved the graduation forward on that policy. So we have the 12, and then we have some wiggle room before graduation hits to have those snow days if we need to.
This is the 14th, right?
it brings it to June 14th.
Yeah, the 14th.
You haven't experienced Flag Day in Dedham yet.
I've heard about it.
Okay.
There's no way we can do graduation on Flag Day.
Anyway, that'd be fun. Anyone else? We will revisit this at our next meeting.
Okay.
Everyone's excited, I know you are.
Wait, can I just ask one, I'm thinking, one clarifying question. So with just looking at the questions that were asked of the staff about the holidays, I see the asterisks which note a change would require contractual language changes for some units. And Victor was saying this wouldn't happen for next year. So it would not impact the calendar we're talking about right now?
There's no way we could go and negotiate with the units before.
No, they are willing. They
they're
aren't.
willing.
They are not. The union leadership is feeling contractually sound on the beginning, the start of school. But as far as the religious holidays, that is something that they are willing to negotiate language
I didn't
around,
get that part.
because we do have a couple of units that are exempt from specifically Good Friday.
Yeah.
So we would change the language temporarily to support that.
My apologies, everyone.
that-
I was
that- yeah.
That
not
was
aware.
why I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So we are talking about the
Okay.
FY '24-25.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So we'll definitely revisit this at the next meeting, hopefully with lots of data from the poll, from the community and the teachers, staff, the staff of the schools. Okay, we will move on to the business reports. FY24 expense update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I want to take just a few minutes and make sure that we are regularly keeping the committee and the community up to date on how F24 is tracking. We'll continue with quarterly formal budget reports, but I think something in the interim, as we have made clear, we continue to track a $2.6 million projected deficit for F24. We've talked a lot about this, but I'll just kind of recap a little bit. We are tracking major to the tune of about a 100% overage on transportation. And that is not yellow bus transportation, just to be clear. This is transportation for our vans and students in different settings. We also have a 7% roughly enrollment increase, so we have had to hire more staff that we had not anticipated when we were building the budget this time last year. And that's about a $700,000 increase. And we have a proportionate increase in out-of-district. When our population goes up by 7%, so too do our out-of-district tuitions with students who require specialized placements. Those are just the big, that's about $500,000. So all in for just those costs, we're looking at 2.3 of that 2.6 million. Some of them are incidentals, deferred maintenance on buildings, things that, again, we could not project as we were building the budget this time last year. A little bit of good news on the offsetting that deficit front. You may recall last year we talked a lot about the 14% OSD increase to special education tuition rates, which impacted us to the tune of about $650,000 year over year when we look at our tuitions as a whole. The state authorized and provided relief to districts, $75 million for the state. We were part of a webinar recently, Dr. Stetson and I and a few other members, to get a little bit of guidance on how that relief would be allocated to districts and by what mechanism, algorithm, et cetera. We are anticipating about $150,000, maybe a little north. We want to be conservative there, about $150,000 of revenue in F24, so that would be put towards this deficit. Good news, there's a small string attached to those funds, which is they are not additional funds. It is basically, in essence, it's a cash advance on your circuit breaker reimbursement for F25. So as we project our circuit breaker numbers, we've got to be a little bit more cautious for F25 in terms of what we are assuming for reimbursement, because this is the first $150,000 on whatever that reimbursement is for F25. So it's helpful, but it's not in addition to. So that's good news. The other good news is that we are projecting to get our first installment of funding from the state to support our new students, our new international students, and we are projecting that to be somewhere around $440,000 in the first round. We expect 3 rounds. We're being cautious about projecting what those figures will be because the population is mobile, and we're only reimbursed or provided support for the number of total number of students and total enrolled days. So we've got to be careful in terms of, accounting for how much we would be able to push towards. But that's about a $600,000 between the relief on 2 state relief pockets of money, the OSD relief and the funds to support our new students. So that's good news. So that, and in combination with some creative movement of staffing within the district, controlling some of our internal spending, we're projecting to be able to bring that down to about around $1 million at this point. So being able to offset about 1.6 of the 2. We hope that we may be able to get that a little bit higher. I have already started, I had kind of hinted at last time, starting some conversations with our transportation vendors who are benefiting from the market right now and these circumstances. And so I hope to be able to control some of our spending on that front, and which would, again, bring that projected deficit down. I will keep you updated there. But as far as the deficit, I just wanted to make sure you were clear, had some more understanding of how things had evolved over the last couple of weeks. I'll stop there and be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Any questions from the committee for Dr. Kelly?
I think it's more of the comment is a lot of this is so that we can't control, and that's outside of the realm of what we could have budgeted for, or even control what we spend and what we don't spend, especially around the transportation, as those costs are don't know what the right word is, because they're so ridiculous. You know, looking at what we're spending to go such short distances in some instances, and then how the further distances are it's absurd. I think, if I remember correctly, the Superintendent Murphy, you were part of your conversations with oh my God, the two legislators, Senator Rush and Paul McGrirt. Don't tell them I did that. Sorry. We're both these a couple things with this, right? If I remember correctly from budget sub last night.
Yes.
And so I think that's important to know that they, I don't think they were. I don't put words in their mouth, but remember, they weren't even aware of some of these issues. That
didn't seem that way.
Start tracking some of these things. Because it's not fair to us as a school district that we have to absorb $2 million of stuff that we can't control. And I think that's important for the community to know. And we are working with our legislators to help right the ship.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it?
Yes.
And it's also important for just piggybacking off of that, for everyone to understand that we are not unique in this situation. This is something that's happening across the Commonwealth. I'm sure, the representatives from across the state are getting, calls and having meetings with school districts just such as ours have. So it's not ideal, it's not unique. It is something that we have to do. We have a moral and, just a human obligation to do the things that we're doing, and so we gladly take on that expense. It doesn't seem that there is a support from the state to continue these efforts. And hopefully that will catch up, but in the meantime, that leaves us where we are. And we are working diligently to close that gap. So, anyone else?
Great segue in FY 2025.
There we go. And now we shall move on to the FY 25 operating budget report from Superintendent Murphy and Dr. Kelly.
Right.
Oh, before we do that, I would like to just go on to what's going to happen next. So we're going to have the presentation from the administration. Then we will move on to the public hearing for the FY 25 operating budget. We'll open the hearing, we'll have public comment on the report, and then we will close the public hearing. I just wanted to prep everyone so that we can flow into the next thing pretty seamlessly. Thank you. Take it away.
Absolutely. So I've been able to provide a little bit of a lens of how Dr. Kelly and I and the leadership team have entered into our FY 25 budget planning process. And it is my belief that a budget should be driven by the beliefs and the mission of the district. So you should be able to see in a budget what the district stands for. What is the story that the educators and the district team is telling? So you typically will see expenditures related to district initiatives and priorities. Those initiatives and priorities are typically outlined in a district strategic plan. Dedham's district strategic plan is in need of a revival, which is a perfect opportunity for a new leadership team. So I went back to what I could find in terms of visioning for the district, and that was in 2020. 3 strategic objectives were developed to guide the work of the district. The first initiative, invest in human capital to design and grow individual educator capacity throughout the district. So in that pillar, you're looking at professional development. You're looking at strategic moves and teaching and coaching. The second pillar, create integrated organizational systems and structures to ensure high-quality instruction and consistent learning expectations and outcomes. That's where you're aligning purchases like curriculum. We are adopting a new ELA, comprehensive ELA curriculum. That's where you're doing work around revising and updating texts that students are using at the high school level. That's where those purchases and expenditures would be seen in a budget. And finally, expand the use of technology to streamline educator and student feedback for improved performance. So that's where you're looking at, you've heard Dr. Smith talk to you about M-Class and data resources that we're using to lean into to not only assess where our students are, but to assist our educators in identifying standards that students are either proficient at, approaching, or exceeding, and that system can create lesson plans for educators. So when you're looking at a class of 22 students that have a variety of differentiated needs, you are able to use this enhanced technology that the district purchases to be able to filter and plan and organize instruction for students. So that is ideally where a district is anchored. So given what you have just heard from Dr. Kelly, how does 2024's budget concerns impact our 2025 budget development? So the three unbudgeted drivers, the transportation, the out-of-district placements, and our increase of 7% in student enrollment, it means that we're entering into the FY25 budget development with the need to carry $2.3 million in recurring FY24 unbudgeted costs. Knowing that, what does that mean for level service? So level service is defined by your carryover plus your contractual obligation to employees plus reasonable inflation on goods and services. If we were looking at an FY25 level service, it would be reflected in an 11.3% increase. So over the last few months, Dr. Kelly and I have been meeting with the budget subcommittee members, and we have been asked thoughtful and targeted questions about expenditures by each and every one of the budget subcommittee members. I appreciate the committee's relentless focus on what's best for students and pushing the administration to plan purposefully to ensure students continue to have a stellar school experience. At our last budget subcommittee, understanding that 11% request exceeds historical town appropriations, I recommended an 8.06% increase to the members. After much discussion, the Budget Subcommittee voted to approve my recommendation with the understanding that it still falls significantly short of providing level services to our Dedham Public School community. So Dr. Kelly and I have put together a brief presentation to help you understand what an 8.06% increase, how that will impact our district.
Would you like me to take it?
You got it.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Murphy. So before I jump into the fiscal 25, I think sometimes it's helpful to set the table. So I want to go back to F24. Where were we in planning for F24 this time last year? And again, a little bit more of how is what has happened and transpired over the last 18 months affecting F25. So just to go back, at this point last year, we were looking at level service around 8.76%. And the budget subcommittee at that time graciously supported a 6.95% increase. So that's important in terms of understanding, A, that the committee continues to do everything in its power to support the education of our children, and that is commendable. These are not small numbers we're talking about. And I point out the 8.76 and the 6.95 because as you'll see, and as Superintendent Murphy talked about, the budget tells all kinds of stories. And the story that you will see here play out in terms of how we close the gap between 11 and 8, the bottom line of that story, or the theme of that story, is we do everything we can to protect our classrooms and our clinics and the services that are provided directly to our children across the district at every grade level. The 8.76 to 6.95 represented a 1.8% cut reduction. So we reduced spending by almost $1 million to hit the 6.95% last year, and that came in the form of a 15% reduction to all non-personnel line items, so the money that we use to purchase our mops and our crayons and our, all the cleaning supplies, all the curriculum materials, those pieces. It also required, again, a pullback on the request to restore PD funding for the district, and it manifested in about $500,000 in personnel reductions. Most of those at that time were pulled from the central office and support staff, unfilled positions. You may recall we had a lot of unfilled positions we had not been able to fill, and in order to close the gap, instead of pulling people directly away from students, we chose to close out those postings and not roll those positions into F24. Last year, we talked a lot about just unprecedented increases in utility expenses. We were looking at 100% increases in electricity, massive increases in heat, 14% increase in special education out-of-district tuition. These are, again, it was things beyond our control. We have to heat the buildings, we have to turn on the lights, and we must provide appropriate educational settings for our students. And that's where we are again today. Unprecedented, uncontrollable expenses. The magnitude has shifted. But I think, as you'll see, we have done a lot of scrubbing in past fiscal years of those expenses that are furthest away from kids. So there's not too much further to go. You'll hear me say, I may repeat myself, I've already said we have to turn on the lights. We need principals in our buildings. We must have custodians. So when you look at the way the budget is portioned, you'll see that there's not a lot of not a lot of room to go. So that's the context in which, the additional context in which we're developing F25 and the way that F24 is shaping F25 prior to the deficit that developed for all of these unanticipated. We really couldn't project this time last year that we'd have 7% more students sitting in seats today. So with all of that being said, so when we start planning, we start at the F24 revised base. So that is roughly $54.4 million. It depending on how you export from Munis, that number comes up and down a little bit, but that's a good place to start. It is safe. So we start with this base F24 revised appropriation, and that's where we start building. And this is just to recap what Superintendent Murphy was describing in terms of level service. So we begin just by building in all of the must-dos, things we have to provide. Transportation, an additional $1.2 million, as we discussed. That's a recurring cost. Out-of-district tuition increases. The compounding factor, if I may go back to out-of-district quickly, not only is it proportionate in terms of the enrollment increase that we've seen, but OSD has approved a 5% increase for this year. So not only are we having more students in placements, but we also have an increase in the rates that we are paying for those tuitions, 5%. So historically, those OSD increases have floated in the 1% to 3% range. So 5 is better than 14, but we're not back to where we have been historically. We have our enrollment increases. Can't see very well. A little more contrast would have been good. We have our professional obligations to our employees. So in terms of their steps, lanes, and COLAs for the coming school year. And as Superintendent Murphy was referring to, we have to make a projection in terms of the cost of goods and services. So a reasonable estimate of inflation. And this is, I mean, it's everything from MOPS to attorney fees. I mean, it's everything that is running the district that are not our people. So when you put all of that together, level service would be $60.638 million. That's $6.2 million over the F24 revised appropriation. Okay, so that's where that 11.3% is derived for level service. So the subcommittee, this is, as I said last time I was presenting this, I'm a visual person, I'm a teacher by training, so I think it's helpful to just kind of see the magnitude. So the 8% increase represents $4.4 million over the F24 revised budget, which puts us at 58.8 roughly million. So the difference there between level service and the $58 million 8% is a $1.8 million need. We've got to figure out how are we going to make up that 1.8 million. And I'll go through that in some detail here in the next few minutes. Again, visually, so, we've got this gap in the F25, and I wanted everybody to be able to see, as the budget subcommittee approves an 8%, and we have a $4.4 million increase, 2.3 million of that 4.4 is consumed by the rollover of the deficit, because they're recurring costs. They're not one-time expenditures. That leaves us 2.1 to cover the rest of things we have to do, but still that 1.8 million gap between level service and the F25 proposed. It's really challenging. So I'm going to take you through where we are in terms of preparing for that 1.8 and what that looks like. So I will first start with our F24 going back to the operating. So as it stands today, roughly 81.5% of our overall budget is spent on the people, as it should be, right? The story is the people are the most important thing that we do, and 81.4% of our budget is appropriated towards our people, 18.6% to everything else, as I've described. So when we're looking at the reductions as it stands right now, when you look at them most as globally as we can look at them, we're looking at making the 1.8 million by taking 535,000 out of goods and services, so reducing anywhere we can on supplies, materials, professional development, anything there, and a 1.45 million reduction in personnel. And what's important to note here, as I've talked, I talked about the scrubbing that we have done of non-personnel expenditures, goods and services already, but we're trying to protect our classrooms, our clinics, the people who work directly with children. So I put this graph up because I think it's important to note that 18.6% of the budget is dedicated to these expenditures. We are disproportionately going after those funds to make sure that we're keeping the cuts as far away from the classrooms as we can. So 26.9% of the proposed reductions today are goods and services. And 73.1 you can read would be personnel. But so that's the global breakdown as it stands today. So when we break down the staffing, so we go there's 81.4% of our budget is staffing, and when you go into that 81.4%, 92% of our people are instructional. They work with kids in some way, shape, or form. 8.7% of our people, principals, custodians, food service, traffic directors, maintenance, facilities, all of the people who make sure that the schools run. 8.7. So I'll go back just real quick. When we take that 1.45 million, or the 73.1%, and we break that down in terms of student-facing and non-student-facing, that's what that looks like. So 74.1% of those 13.5 FTE that would be required to close that gap, 74% of them, 10, are directly student-facing, 3.5 are not. Now, that sounds disproportionate, 10 to 3, however, or 3.5. However, when roughly 9% of your staff are not student-facing and 26% of the reductions are there, we've been whittling back, on the people who are not working directly with kids at a rate that is disproportionate, as it should be, to the rate at which we're going to positions that work directly with children. So I wanted to point that out and make that clear. I think that's really important. So any reduction that we make, I said this last year, sitting in a different seat, I'll say it again this year. Any reduction affects children. It does. It just, some have a more direct impact than others, but they all do. They limit what we can and can't do within the district. So to get to 8 would require 13.5 FTE, and given where we are in terms of the budget development process, while we do have a voted budget subcommittee proposal, we know we've got about 4 months to go until town meeting, and a lot changes between now and then, and even within a lot changing with different boards and different groups and different vetting processes that the budget goes through, we also know that things change internally too. We have retirements that we may not yet know about. We may have turnover savings that we just can't anticipate. So I bring those things up because we have a long way to go, as you know. And a lot is going to change between now and, I believe town meeting is May 12th this year, if I could be wrong, but I think it was May 12th. A lot's going to change between now and then, both internally and externally, as we work through this budget process. I did want to, so the point there is we've taken a look at these, at positions, but really we're not yet into the exactly which position is that going to be, because it's not the right time to be there just yet. We have some thoughts, but we're looking at kind of the 1.4 million. What is our average salary? How much would it take? How many FTE would it take to close that gap, if that makes sense? Our first pass with the budget subcommittee was a 5%. So I just wanted to present to the full committee, what does an 8% look like, and what does a 5% look like? Okay. So again, just putting the F24 up there for comparison's sake, 5% looks like 34.5 FTE at our salary rates where they are. And the pie changes. It's still, we would be looking at letting go more disproportionately the people who are not student-facing, but we can't get rid of all of them. So the pie changes, and we'd be looking at 85.4% of those 34.5 FTE would be directly student-facing in some way, shape, or form. So I think that it goes without saying, but I'll state it, this impact would be dramatic. It would be felt at every grade level, across every school. It would affect services to students. It would affect support at our elementary level. It would affect electives, offerings at the secondary level. There's no question. While we don't have specifics, there's no question that this would be felt across the district. So I just wanted everybody to have the information and be aware. I think that's important. It's hard, it's tough. This is not a pleasant space to be in, but I think it's important that you all be aware and have accurate information. So that is all I have in terms of the 8 and the 5, but I certainly would be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have, or as we proceed.
Public comment first, or do we go to Wes first?
We haven't even opened the hearing yet.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Yeah, I would.
Thank you, Dr. Kelly and Superintendent Murphy. At this point, we're going to open the public hearing. Have any comment from the community, and then we'll address questions and comments about the presentation. May I have a motion to open the FY25 operating budget public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Is this roll call? Nope. All in favor of opening the hearing?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. The public hearing is now open. If there is anyone who would like to step up to the mic for public comment regarding the FY25 operating budget, the time limit for speaking as it stands always is 3 minutes. And you can state your name and your address, please.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Now we will address any comments from the committee with the superintendent and Dr. Kelly. This was in our folders as of this morning, so I assume everyone got a chance to really get a chew into this. Is there anything that you guys would like, any more information on, any comments, concerns, criticisms with Chris?
Do you want me to go first, then?
No, Leanne's going to go first.
Thank you.
Criticize myself.
First, I really want to thank all of the administrators who are here this evening. I know that this is not what anyone wants to hear ever, and it's hard. It's really hard, and it's been quite some time since we've had to do this, and we've been really generously supported. But as Chris has stated at the last couple of meetings, these are extraordinary situations that we don't have control over. I want to thank the administration for putting a really nice presentation together, and the budget subcommittee, because it's when you're looking at this, it's people, and it's hard, and it's impacting every single kid potentially. I just want to really thank you for not sticking with this 5%. Can we just take that down, because it's too hard for me to look at. I can't. I mean, 8% is going to be hard for the town to hear, because it's 8%, but it's over and above what we need to, you know. I think I'd like for us to remember that last year, you know, there was just some discussion, and there was monies reappropriated at the town meeting floor. That's not this case this year. This is a very different situation. But also that, you know, town meeting votes a bottom line number, and it was like, well, they can do whatever they want with it once they get it. I really want people to understand that that is not what's going on here. These out-of-district placements and the transportation costs to them, it's killing us. And that's all there is to it. And I do hope that Representative McMurtry and Senator Rush heard you and our concerns, and that are going back to work to try to dig in and find some appropriations for this situation, because it's not tenable for the town. No one wants to see even 13.5. I mean, it just feels really like not okay. But this is, it's not that we're trying to play hostage here. We're not trying to say, oh, this is dire straits and we're wanting money back. We know we can't. And we knew this would be a problem that to some degree this year anyway, but, you know, no one expected 70, what was it?
Migrants?
No.
The new students?
Yes.
174.
170.
Roughly.
So that's extraordinary, and I appreciate.
It's also exciting.
Yeah, oh, it's awesome.
Most districts are not celebrating enrollment increases.
Right.
It says a lot about the Dedham Public School and the community that so many new people are coming to the community. So we're excited about that, but it does come unexpected.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we were also super excited and happy about the student internship program, and those are the things that are going to get hurt first, and I don't want to see that happen. We're making headway in so many different areas of these career pathways and exploration for students. I just think it's super important that we keep having those conversations, because, like we said, town meeting isn't until May 12th, 19th. I heard both. I don't know.
May 14th, if it's a Tuesday, it's May 14th.
It's Monday.
May 13th.
May 12th is a
Somewhere
Sunday.
in May. And so these conversations are going to continue to take place, and you know, it would be nice to have some input from others as well. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Dr. Galat?
Sorry, I skipped it.
I don't really care. Whenever you want me to go, I'll go.
I want to reiterate to Mayan's comment, you know, being part of the budget subcommittee, it's not easy to make these kind of decisions and to see what's in front of us. And I want to make sure that the narrative that we're telling in the story that Dr. Kelly and Superintendent Murphy told tonight is in fairness to the excitement of the increase of our student enrollment, and that the narrative is not necessarily because of that. As we recall, the state is giving us funds for that increase, which we are anticipating will continue if we were to have our new students that had migrated to be next year. So I want to make sure that we are clear on that narrative so people aren't telling a different one and pointing our new families and students a finger at those folks, because that is not the case. You have folks that are taking advantage out there that are transportation companies and gouging prices. So much so I don't know how they sleep at night, to what the tune of 100% increase this year. And then, of course, our out-of-district placement costs to care for the children that are in our district to make sure they get the best education. Our job is also to deliver a level service budget, a service level budget, and this is not it. It's 3% below. So that's hard to do as a subcommittee when we are charged to deliver a level service and our hands are tied in that. Lack of a better phrase. So I just want to make sure that narrative is out there in what this story is telling and what we're looking at.
Can I go?
Ms. McCormick, yes.
Thank you. Just to kind of echo what Leah and Mayan had said, thank you for getting into such detail with this, and I'm also a visual person, so that's helpful for me. I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit about the level of collaboration that's happening and at what point that level of collaboration happens with building these leaders, because, you know, as we can see, this unfortunate required reduction for all of the numbers listed is impacting direct service student-facing positions that are in the schools. So where and when does that happen?
So it's a great question, and it happened immediately. It did not happen as a default to our situation.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I oriented myself as the superintendent, I was lucky enough as a principal to have a mentor that brought me along on the journey of budget development. And so one of the first thing I did was invite our leadership team to some of those district level conversations, because as a principal, oftentimes you end up being handed something and it doesn't always work for your building. So to be at the table and to be able to, as district leaders, hear the voices and impact has shaped the process of not just this budget, but how we collaborate and organize ourselves across the district. So they've been at the table, our leaders have been at the table from the very beginning of the development, and even more so as we've gotten more and more into the weeds, if you will, around what this looks like in schools. So the conversations have evolved. This is not a sit down, have a long meeting, and come out with a fix. This takes time. We're entering into our third month of these conversations. The if-win scenarios. What does this if-win scenario look like across elementary? Does it impact secondary? If it doesn't, how do we change it? What's the balance? So I'd like to think that our leaders would say they've been involved in the process all along.
Thanks, Dan. That's what I was hoping.
I will even say that at Budget Sub, Ian and I, Dr. Kelly and I have presented one scenario or one conversation, and then we've come back and the members of the subcommittee have said, but that's not what you said last time, and what changed? And I said conversation with the principals changed.
Okay.
So they changed the narrative of what we were thinking at that time.
And I think that's particularly important in a district such as ours, where there are very different student populations at our different schools and making sure that we're equitably allocating resources depending on the student needs. I'm really glad to hear that those conversations have been happening and will continue to happen. Thank you.
Mr. Polito?
Thank you. So I guess, first and foremost, I want to thank my colleagues in the budget sub, Avery and Victor. This was a very challenging year for a lot of issues that you can actually, see here. I want to thank, Superintendent Murphy and Dr. Kelly for all your support in this. I'm fairly sure Dr. Kelly is ready for me to stop calling and going through this, especially for me as an accountant that's very into this and your first time being in these kind of weeds. I love this. That's what I chose to do for a living. But it's been great to work with you and the rest of your team. Kind of with your comment about the principals and the buildings being in this, they're all here sitting in front of us. I think all 7 are out there somewhere. They've been actually at our budget meetings the last couple of meetings, and that's how impactful this is, and that's how much they've been a part of this. So to you guys, thank you for being here tonight. I don't think I've all seen all 7 of you together in a while, so hi everybody. But that's great to see. Also want to thank the rest of the board for giving us the kind of trust of getting through this. As we've been saying for months now, this was not going to be pretty. And the trust to get through it in a way that we could to get the best possible result that we could. It's the best that we could do. As been said, it's not level service. It is a cut. We are going to be cutting services as we've said even at our meeting last night. As much as we are cutting services, we're not cutting expectations of our students' education. We are still expecting the highest possible education. We're seeing results in test scores and where they're going to college and whether they're going to the workforce or even at our elementary schools of reading, of literacy and closing gaps that it created during COVID. Those expectations are not going to change from us, and you've been very confident that that's not going to change for you guys either. That's always our number one focus here. Like we've said multiple times, a lot of this budget increase is stuff that we can't control. Transportation and out-of-district placement. Out-of-district placement is we should be doing it. That is educating kids that need more help. And that, I know we're legally responsible to do it, but morally and ethically, I think we are too. And I think we are doing that and making sure they are taken care of. There is no child left behind. Transportation, I want to get in the transportation business because some of these numbers are very profitable for these people. I think that's, hopefully we can get our legislators to help us with that. Dr. I do want to have you answer kind of one question or more define a couple slides back. When you make the comment about our enrollment is a $675,000 increase. I know you've explained to us, or at least to me in budget, what that actually means. But I think it'd be great for our community to know that that's not just, hey, well, you added 100 kids, but it's going to add an extra couple $100,000 to the budget. That's a very defined reasoning and rationale. So that'll be quiet.
Sure. So we have added a number of staff. We had a first grade at the Green Lodge. We added a kindergarten at the ECEC. We have added special educators, I believe, definitely at Avery and I believe at Green Lodge as well. We've had to hire a number of paraprofessionals to provide direct support to children. These numbers add up very quickly at an average of $85,000 per teacher and roughly $30,000 per paraprofessional. You're adding up quickly. But then there's also associated costs with materials. I'm trying to.
Computer licensing program.
Correct. Thank you. Yep. There you go. Yes.
Everything goes home in the kids' backpack.
Yeah. Correct. Exactly.
And I think that's important to know that's not just a random number we're throwing out there. No. That is incredibly well defined. Is it from that perspective and just kind of the process? Do you want to do what we need to do next, Victor, or do you want budget about where we go from here?
So from here, we are looking to vote this next meeting. So we will there will be some time for us to chew into these numbers, and we'll keep working. Budget sub is still meeting. To just refine what this is so that when we do vote on it, we know what we're going to be presenting to the town. And we're going to be building in contingencies. We understand this process. We've been through it a lot, some of us. And we know that once this gets to, FinCom and the other boards and everyone's looking at it, we're going to be asked to reduce more, and we just want to be ready for that, and we want to do it very thoughtfully. So we're going to be working on that now to see what that looks like down the road, because, we owe it to every educator in the room, every educator in our district, every employee of the schools, every kid, to be extremely as thoughtful as possible with what needs to happen. If there are any comments, anyone has any questions around the budget, please reach out to any of us, reach out to the budget subcommittee. We definitely can talk through a lot of what's going on. There are obviously things in the budget that we're going to be working on that are not ready for public consumption, but that will be coming out shortly too. Anything else you can think of, Chris?
No, it's just so we'll end up voting at our next meeting. From there, it goes to town manager. That gets incorporated in his budget. That was kind of phase one last, maybe back to last year's. That's where we got cut. No, we didn't cut it in his. We cut it in the first meeting of FinCom. So he puts it in his. Then we go to FinCom. That's where we got the first 1% reduction that brought us down. Then at town meeting floor, we got brought back. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it. That was the timeline. So that's the general timeline of the budget process moving forward. Mayanne?
I'd just like to thank the members of the Finance and Warrant Committee that are here this evening, trying to find out, they're doing their due diligence to find out what is going on and helping us solve our budgetary problems. So I do appreciate them being here.
I do too. Thank you.
I didn't see them back.
I know you didn't.
They're back there. They're back there. They're hiding.
I was thinking, Mr. Parrish.
And again, I also would like to just, also say thank you to all the administrators that are in the room. You guys have put a lot of time in this, and you're still putting time into it, and I'm sure you'll be at all of our budget subcommittee meetings coming up. And your feedback is obviously necessary and appreciated. So thank you for everything. Anything else on the budget, guys?
And by vote, the next meeting, we mean on the 31st. The 31st is going to be a regular meeting. Just, we hadn't defined.
No, we had not defined it.
Through the chair, I have just one point of clarification to Dr. Gallant's clarification around enrollment. I just would like to add a concrete number to the 176, I believe, new students that we have. Only 64 of them are international students.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's important.
One last thing, Mr. Chair. I guess on that question, do we, using the DESE projections, are we, I know it's hard to predict an enrollment increase, but how would an enrollment increase potentially impact the budget for next year?
Via Chapter 70, is that where?
Well, I guess I'm more asking, would we see an increase in enrollment that we'd have to add positions back in that may be coming out, or just go on top?
Well, so this is when we go back in the Wayback Machine to planning for F24, it's the same situation. We're planning a future that is 6 to 8 months away at this point. So. Yeah, but I mean, yes, that is, if we have a spike, another enrollment increase that we can't anticipate today, then we would have to add staff back. Yes. Class sizes are, they are something we control, and that is a place where we can control cost. It's not ideal, but certainly, part of that 11% level service is maintaining the way in which our buildings are configured. It's maintaining the infrastructure of our aging facilities, and it's maintaining the class sizes and the AP offerings and the elective offerings that this community values. So, if we want to continue to provide the kind of class sizes that we do, then yes, it would require more.
Also, if I may, on top of that, when we finalize the budget, we know immediately, the moment that it's done, that come summertime, the enrollment's going to go up, right? That's just automatic. We can't account for, we don't know how much that's going to go up, but we know it is going to go up. Like this, what we have now is essentially unheard of, but that number is always, we're always going to be planning for something, at the new school year. Like, oh, we have 6 new students at the ECEC in first grade. This means that to maintain what we're doing, we're going to need to, I don't know, rejigger classes and form another section, right? I don't think any of us anticipate this happening again, right? But you're right. That's one of the things we've talked about is what happens when we need to bring positions back. What do those positions look like, right? Those are things we're talking about, but we don't know what it's going to look like, right? Mr. Polito.
Can I, if you don't mind, I have another kind of comment or I guess / question based on actually what Dr. Kelly had said. I know we had talked about at budget stuff. Part of it is class size. I mean, that's one way to, in theory, reduce your budget by putting more kids in a single room. You can remove an educator. And I know we're talking about, especially at the elementary school level, where based on the spread of the children in the facilities that we currently have with 3 buildings that are older than everybody sitting at this table, maybe even combine some of the buildings. But, when you have 40, first graders at Oakdale, I'm obviously picking 40 and obviously picking Oakdale, it's two classes. You can't combine that to make 1 class. Or even if you had 60, I guess is a better way with 3, you couldn't combine that to make 2 because it doesn't work. You can't have 28 kids in a class at that age. And our infrastructure won't support that based off the change of learning with having libraries in every classroom, different things like that. As long as we can really control, completely jump in if I'm misstating anything, as long as that we can really control that, it's going to be more at the secondary levels. And we're not going to, and part of that is the smaller class sizes and some of these electives that when we want to offer this robust education. I think it was talking about like a class in DNA or again, arbitrary picking a random class. That if that has a low enrollment, that's the stuff that we're going to be effectively cutting. We're not going to be cutting, core English, science, math. But that's when you talk about class sizes, it's at those levels, right? I mean, completely jumping from.
Well, it could also be at AP levels if you want to go down that road with 9 or 10 kids in a class. But is that who we are as a district, and is that who we want to be? Yeah. And I think those are the conversations that need to be had. I don't want us to jump the gun on that conversation yet, that any of the electives are being cut.
No, but I also don't want people to come out tomorrow and say, we'll just raise class sizes from 18 to 25. It's not that simple. And we can't do it at the elementary school level. It's going to be secondary. And I agree that I don't want to jump to any conclusion, but that's where more of the class size conversation is going to be happening. Is that a fair statement?
You have far less flexibility at the elementary level than you do at the secondary for the reasons you just elaborated on. Okay. Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. I wish that's kind of known. That.
Okay. I think we've done it, guys. We are going to move away from the budget now and breathe a sigh of relief for the moment. On to business reports. Continued.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Principal.
Thank you.
Good night, guys. Thank you for coming.
Sure you don't want to stay for...
Feel okay?
I forgot that I needed to have my computer open still. My apologies.
We are now going to move on to the continued discussion and vote on the LEAP and summer programming fees. You have the floor, Dr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will quickly navigate to my folder for this evening so that I have this in front of me. I apologize. I had it in my head that my duties were finished for the evening. Do you mind pulling that up since you're projecting?
Sure.
Thank you.
Is it in the folder? Or
it should
did you add it to the one?
Thank you.
Is it on this one? Or is it here?
Go now.
Actually, I'll just put it up.
Oh, man.
We're elected, right?
I missed it.
Ooh.
I think we can start without it.
Okay. So on the agenda this evening, we have the continued discussion and vote on LEAP summer programming fees and discussion and possible vote of EC before and after school care fees. So I apologize for kind of dribbling these things in. In the future, we will have the whole fee conversation in one whole. I will do better in the future. So just to separate them, so LEAP summer programming fees. So in the table here that is in row 13 through 16, I just wanted to put this back on the table. We had discussed this initially, I believe, at our last meeting. And at that time, we had discussed these increases in rates. One development since that time, and this is somewhat, I hate to bring us back to the budget. However, you'll notice that the LEAP rates are absent this table at this time. And I wanted to bring the committee up to date. The LEAP program is a program that initially started as a grant-funded program at zero cost to the district. And last summer, when we attempted to run it at a budget neutral rate to offset, have the fees offset the cost of what it is to run the program, we were unable to run it because there was not enough interest. And I think some of that was just structural in nature, having to commit to a 4 to 5 week program, and the rate was up at $1,200. When I'm looking at this, this is a program that, unless it is wildly subscribed, will run in the red. And at this time, given the budget circumstances, I wanted to make you aware of that, and that, I understand, as the teacher, this is wildly beneficial to children, and as the numbers person, I'm really concerned about running a program that can't sustain itself financially, given the circumstances that we are in. So I put that out there, so I would recommend that we pull that back and just consider the Trek and Avery Institute fees at this time. However, that is new information to the committee, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss, ask questions, or,
Yeah.
So maybe we just start there with the summer fees.
Okay. Stephen?
To clarify, is that Jumpstart?
I'm sorry, I've been using the wrong terminology. It's that time. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Acosta.
So right now, we're looking at the Trek and Avery Institute proposed rates?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So the increased rate for Trek would be going from 450 to 475 for next summer, and the Avery Institute would go from 90 per session, a 1 week half-day program, to $95.
Okay.
For the week?
That's why you have 1,200 seats filled.
Yeah.
In minutes.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes. It's a wonderful
Faster
deal.
than Taylor Swift.
Get out of my head. It's like getting I sit on my computer and wait.
And it's an awesome program.
It's amazing.
It's awesome. So
Such a great opportunity for kids. That's great.
Any more? Do you have any more?
So I was trying to be respectful of the agenda. So the first item on the agenda was what were these fees, even though I lumped it all into one spreadsheet because I.
Okay. Any more discussion around the rate increases for these two programs? Mr. Acosta?
Sorry, one more question. Do we have a sense on the enrollment or the number of students participating in those programs? Like historically or last year?
So I would defer to Alyssa Freda on the exact numbers in terms of, because, when I say for Avery Institute, we filled 1,200 seats. Well, that could be one student taking 4 weeks.
Right. So it would be 1,200 times the fee each time, like 1,200 times 95 in this case. Okay. That's more.
Yep.
I'm more looking at what's the total.
Yep. And then the Trek, I believe, roughly 80% of the rising class typically participates. I believe those numbers were in the 120s in the past. It's a great transition to middle school. It's an awesome program. So these are, I'm sorry.
Sorry, one thing I just, because I might be the only one, oh no, Victor and I have had people go through track.
Yep.
That's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So I just want to clarify that because Avery is a weekly fee.
Half day.
And our half day, and Trek is full
For the
day.
whole, right.
Yeah, like a school day, and it's like 2.5 or 3 weeks long.
Yes.
So just when you're looking at the price there.
Yeah, yes, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah. And also a great program.
And also a great program. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do have one. Just as somebody who has, done camps in the past, where the 5% comes from versus like a 10%. I'm just curious where the percentage increase.
Just a reasonable estimation of inflation.
Okay.
I mean, that's really just making sure. One of the things that we've had many conversations about this over the years. I've been in a different seat, but that it is important that we continue to regularly increase our fees, not dramatically, so that we don't get into this position, as we'll discuss with the ECEC childcare fees, of having to do these massive adjustments because we've not just progressively kept the fee up with inflation. So this is just the intention is to just annually minor increases to just. When I talk about inflation on goods and services, like we just need to keep up.
Okay. Yeah, I guess because I see 95 and there's a part of me that's like, why not make it 100? But I mean, that's $20 a day.
I know. Yeah.
So I just, sorry for saying that, but again, I'm just thinking, like, I can't even imagine or fathom like paying $20. Granted, it's 3 hours, but I would pay, during COVID, I did pay much more than that for my kids to go someplace for a couple of hours. So, and that one stands out because you're $5 away from it. So I didn't know if there was.
But that's what it'll be next year. If we keep
So next year would be 100. Okay.
Roughly. Yep. Yes, that was the promoted fee. These are rounded up to the next dollar.
Yep.
Motion to approve Trek Summer 2024 rate of $475 for the program and Avery Institute for $95 per week.
So moved. Second.
I made it.
You're seconding.
Second by Leah.
Someday, like in 5 years, I'll get it.
There's a little book, Robert's Rules.
I have it in my office.
I know.
All in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. The rates are increased. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I just make one comment?
Yes.
They're having their side conversation over there. I know Alyssa is like busting her butt on getting everything put together, and I also know that the schedule is dependent on what teachers are teaching what, but the sooner that we can get this schedule out to the community, like people are already scrambling to register for summer programs, that it would be,
Yes, and part of the me trying to step on the gas here and being a little more clunky than I would like is that these people are waiting on these fees to be able to promote. So, and that's,
Step one.
Right, one, right, exactly, yes, absolutely.
for sure. We appreciate you stepping on the gas.
Do you know when she's gonna open registration?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I will certainly get an answer for you.
Great.
My wife wants to know.
Okay.
And then we'll paint it in the sky for everyone to see.
By the end of the month.
All right, Dr. Kelly. ECEC.
Thank you. So, oh boy, numbers changed. Okay. Wow.
Okay.
I'm not sure what happened in between this morning and now, but we'll get back to that. So at the last, we had also discussed the ECEC childcare rates. And at the last meeting, you had requested numbers of children accessing and numbers of families who were accessing financial assistance to be able to take part in the ECEC. So I had emailed those, I think, earlier this week to the committee. I don't have them sitting directly in front of me, but I did want you to have the information. The number of families accessing financial support are very few. I believe it's 5. And it is a very well attended and subscribed program. Not having the numbers directly in front of me, I know that they are quite high. And having been there for 6 weeks, I also was able to see firsthand the number of children in that program. So it is, I think it's a program that serves the community very well. We've not increased these rates in many years. So what I had proposed before, so I'm sorry, this table is just hard to see on the screen. So our existing rates are in rows 2 through 5 for the before care and the after care. So in rows columns LMNO, these are our current fees for before care, and after care are here. These have not been increased in at least 8 years, as long as I've been here. So what we had intended to do was move them towards the LEAP rates. Ultimately, what will happen is this program will come under the jurisdiction of LEAP. That is the intent, to get all of our before, after care programming under Alyssa's office. We're just taking that one small chunk at a time so that we can get these programs off and running or under her jurisdiction effectively. So the current LEAP rates are what you see here in rows 8 through 11. So if we were to increase the rates from the current school year for LEAP, this is what it would look like. I had also, that's what I did, right. In rows 13 through 16, I've been handling a lot of numbers recently. These are the percentage increases if you were to apply the LEAP rates to the current rates. I know, so that's, let's get it all out there and be clear, right? And I see those are, but this is what happens when you don't do those incremental increases over time. So another option that I wanted to put in front of you was a 25% increase, as opposed to these 40s and in some instances 90s. 91. I know, there's. Oh, and I am also sorry, I forgot to explain, in each column, these 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the number of days. I should have said that, and I know people in the community may be listening, so that's the number of days a person is accessing. So for the committee's review, I had also included a 25% increase, which is obviously somewhere in between. So it gets us moving in the direction of getting this adjusted towards and where it needs to land, which is at the LEAP rates, but it's not asking families to make a crazy jump in 1 year. So I'll stop there. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions around the ECECU before and after school rates? Kyla?
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
I feel like we did this with ECEC tuition in one of my first, a couple of years.
We did it with the preschool.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Sorry,
That's
thank
what
you.
we did.
Preschool ECEC tuition that hadn't been touched in years and years and years.
Right.
So I'm just thinking about families who are accessing this before and after school. It is 3-year-olds are not eligible. Is that correct?
I believe, but I'm not certain.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's 4 and 5-year-olds. What?
Sorry. Kindergarten too, right?
Well, they turn 6, so 4, 5, 6-year-old, preschool, kindergarten. So these increases are impacting one round of families because you have one group who are graduating. So I'm wondering if, we would consider, a partial increase, even if it's 50%, for families who this will be impacting who are moving from preschool to kindergarten for next year, but then just be really upfront that this is going to be the increase for 24, 25, and this is going to be the increase for 25, 26, so that as parents are, because that could have an impact on preschool enrollment, preschool decisions, when folks are getting into the lottery. So I don't know, just something to think about.
Ms. Polito?
So I guess to pick up Kelly, what are you recommending? The 25%? Or you recommend going to the LEAP school? I guess
I wanted to provide you with options, and it obviously it goes without saying, it's your jurisdiction to set the fee. I wanted you to understand, as I went back and looked at it, and I looked at the percentage increases, it's a lot, and I see that. So I just wanted to provide this additional option that may, but again, I mean, if you want to do a staggered, certainly it is the prerogative of the committee, but I'm not making a recommendation one way or the other. Ultimately, these will come into, let me reframe that. Ultimately, I would ask that these be aligned with the LEAP fees in the long run.
Yeah. Do you mind if I, one more?
One more, go ahead.
So, based on what you're saying there, when you look at the 25% increase, with a 25% increase for the ECEC, this would be before school, 5 days. 25% increase, but it's only a 15% to LEAP. That puts you above the LEAP cost by $22. So I'd be cautious that if we went with 25.
That it doesn't, right, because.
If you look at, this is 021. It's bigger than 0.
Correct.
5.
Yes.
No, 010.
Yeah, so in instances where the 25% is greater than the 15%, that's those, we've got to catch those and just clean them up.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with kind of like, I don't think we should go 40% in a single year. I don't think that's fair to anybody. I'd be fine with that 25%, assuming we catch stuff like that we don't exceed the LEAPs.
Correct.
Okay, as long as.
Can I ask one more question? This is kind of rhetorical, but I'm going to ask it anyways. This doesn't, I'm assuming the pay that the childcare providers are receiving is set by the contract, like that we're not impacting. Okay.
I'm not impacted.
Do these fees pay for the educators or the adults?
Yes.
Okay.
But they're receiving what they should be receiving in terms of their pay.
This will help to offset whatever contractual increases they may receive.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. That's part of the equation. Their rates of pay have been increasing over the years,
and this is
but the fee has not.
But the fee has not.
Yeah.
Correct. And that's only, I mean, obviously, all costs associated with the program have increased over these at least 8 years. I don't know prior to me, but.
Mrs. Briggs?
So is the 25% enough to keep up with the cost of running the program is my question.
I think given that we've been operating the program for all these years, with the rate being what it is, that it will be fine. And I think it's, from where I sit, balancing the need to write the fee against what's reasonable to ask of families. I think this will be okay at 25%, or an adjusted roughly 25% to account for the instance that Mr. Polito pointed out.
And I also would highly recommend that when we send this out to families, that we also say, and please plan on that again for the following year, so that we can adjust to market rate and then, 3% every year after that.
That's what we did with the tuition, when we did the tuition.
Right, we had 2 incrementals to get us to
jumps.
Right.
Yeah.
And then didn't we in the preschool we set at like a 3% standard?
There's 3% year over year.
Right. Required by us.
Exactly.
Just built in.
3% year over year.
And that's what needs to happen here.
Ultimately, yes, that would be my request.
Mr. Acosta?
I guess going back to the numbers of kids participating, does everyone who wants to get in, or is there like a waiting list or anything like that?
There's a waiting list.
There's a wait, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think for my benefit, I'd personally rather wait till the next meeting and try and get some more enrollment numbers, so we can make that decision. I mean, if there's a waiting list.
We did get the enrollment numbers earlier this week.
Yep.
Oh, where?
Yeah, so Monday, AM, there's 3 students from the preschool, 28 from kindergarten. There's a total of 31 Monday AM, total of 59 Monday PM, 34 Tuesday AM, 59 Tuesday PM. Do you see that chart we got?
Yeah, but are you talking about wait list?
put it up?
Like wait list?
Yeah, you sent it to us.
This is the number of students participating
I'm gonna forward it to
currently.
you, so
Oh, okay.
it's on top of your email.
That would be helpful, and I did, yes. I
Wednesday
emailed.
AM is 35.
But now I'm questioning, hopefully I
missed that.
didn't leave
That's on me.
anyone off the email.
No, you
No.
didn't. No.
Hey, I just re-emailed you again, so
Thank
it's
you.
top to your top.
Thank you,
Ian
Mr.
was
Polito.
working on a weekend and sending emails at 8 a.m. on a Sunday.
It was
I think I
scheduled
was
last
sleeping
week.
in.
At 8:21 a.m.
I'm just
Just to
refreshing.
clarify too, so to Stephen's point in terms of the folks on the wait list, I guess if it increase in fees, does that impact the number of folks on the wait list?
Thank you.
No, because this would not increase the number of seats we have available.
Right.
Right.
And it really only affects 1 year. I'm just thinking, because you're only in kindergarten, like, if you're lucky, you're in the lottery for 1 year, you're in kindergarten for 1 year. But then I'm still trying to because Juliana went there 2 years. Yeah, forget it. Totally disregard me.
I have a
Assuming-
question. Probably not along these lines, but just thinking what Kylan had mentioned before, this is, for some families, this might just be 2 years, right? The pre-K and then kindergarten. When, for the families that will have a child in pre-K, so like they're just entering the ECEC in 2024, when do they get notified about this? That if they want, when is the sign up, I guess is my question for this. So that because I like Kylan's idea of saying, here are the current rates. Please know next year the rates will be XYZ, but there are families that aren't currently at the ECEC that will be enrolling for 2024. So they don't know what the rates were last year because they didn't enroll anybody in before care or after care. So when do they get that initial information or, form to fill out to say, yes, I want to?
When you enroll.
When you enroll, right?
Yeah, it's like the whole big packet of like health forms, emergency contacts.
Okay.
Like this,
And that hasn't happened yet?
no, because lottery hasn't happened for people.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know about the kindergarten. When you enroll in kindergarten? No.
So I don't know the exact timelines off the top of my head. I do know that this is also in the same boat as the summer fees, where we're waiting to promote the program for the fees. So that no pressure. I know that it's the release of this information is imminent, is what I.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the language would potentially, there might have to be like 2 notices, right? So the folks that have a pre-K student this year that will be moving to kindergarten next year, the verbiage there is if you participated in the, earlier, before or after care, there's XYZ increase. For those folks that are going to be getting that welcome enrollment packet, there would be a form that says, here's the current rate. Please note that next year the rate will be going up. I think that the language should differentiate depending on if you are a recurring, renewing person. I've got a lot of Tylenol in my head, so I'm probably not communicating this that well, but do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's new for some people and it's an announcement to others.
Yeah, I would also need to go back and understand on the back end, the mechanical side of accepting different payments through Unipay and whether or not we can, it can be managed. I would just need to understand how much time is it going to take to set it up to manage something like that, right?
So are you saying like having 2 different rates, one for like
Not
second
2 different
families?
rates. I think the communication is different. If I'm
Okay.
getting my
Yeah,
little
but
welcome
that's- yeah.
enrollment
Okay.
packet, it's going to say, here are the rates for 2024, 2025. And I think it could say, please note that there will be an X percentage increase for the 25, 26. Because the pre-K
Yeah,
family
Yeah.
will be there for 2 years. Somebody that's going from pre-K to kindergarten, it's just going to say, there's been a fee, a percentage increase to the fee of XYZ.
Correct. A communication for families who currently access the program and would like to continue, and a communication for families who are new to the program.
Yep.
So, Mr. Acosta brought up an interesting point. I'm not sure if it's still valid, given that we have, Dr. Kelly did send the enrollment numbers. Do we feel that we have the information we need to vote this evening?
No, I'm okay with it.
Can I just ask a follow-up question to your question? Is there capacity for expanding the program?
I would want to check in with Brenda McMurtry, who is our childcare coordinator at the ECEC, to get my sense is that if there was capacity, we wouldn't have a waiting list, but I could be mistaken. I know,
We have an expert in the room.
I think there's not enough staff, which is why we can't have more kids.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 60, 61. some
Yeah, that's a
afternoons.
lot of
It's
kids.
a lot
I
of
just
kids.
didn't know if it was a space limitation, staffing limitation. Yeah, okay.
Right, and we are bound by our kind of regulatory bodies around the ratios.
Absolutely.
So they have to be very strict about that.
I know Giuliani loves it. We get yelled at if we pitch it up too early one night.
Yeah, I've had that happen. That's really funny.
We'll leave you there longer.
So again, I will just ask again, do we feel as a board that we are confident that we have enough information to vote this evening, or would we like more time and more information? I don't feel like this is as detrimental to get out as the summer programming stuff. So if we needed more time, we could have it.
Well, I guess I have one more question. And this might help me answer your question.
Absolutely.
From a staffing, if we increase the fee, would that allow us to get more staff?
No, I don't think so. I just answered it, but I don't.
You know what I'm saying? So more people are taken off the wait list.
I'm assuming
Then, so then
The
people
pay
are
is
taking
higher, it might be
the pay is
more.
higher.
I mean, but it's not because it's contractual.
Well, but it would, if you were to seat an additional 20 children, you most likely offset the cost of any additional staff. I would check in with Brenda. I'm guessing this is less about, this is more about the labor market than anything else. And that people who are interested and able to do this kind of work.
Okay. And I think, like, we're not voting on enrollment and capacity, so that would be a decision that would be made within the program, regardless of what the fee is.
But if you felt like you needed more information to make an informed decision, then we can have that.
I mean, my only thing is I really, like, to some degree, I feel comfortable, I would feel comfortable voting on this, but I to some degree, I would also like to be able to do something like indicating here are our 2 increases over the next 2 years, and then moving forward, it will be X% after that.
Please.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about that is we've just been through a budget cycle that we could never have anticipated. And God forbid, we said that this is, I wouldn't want to release definites of 2 years from now. You know what I mean? Like, this is what we're voting on for this coming year. And yes, anticipate the same type of increase for the following year. But until we know, or if we find out that, we can seek 20 more kids, it may change the landscape. So.
The only definite is that it's definitely going up in 2 years.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, I'll make a motion.
And I guess just to maybe hopefully clarify a little bit of that. So the 25% increase, right? That does allow us to say, here's this flat number that the increase is going to be. And then our hope is to get to this incremental, like the preschool fees. So that's something we can plan for. That's long-term planning. Correct. That's not making any quote-unquote promises, but it is a goal that we're working towards, right? To bring the fees up to some place that's manageable for us, that's in line with something we can do, and but still build in that incremental 3-ish%, whatever, year over year, right? That keeps us competitive in that way. I feel comfortable putting out the 25%, but
I mean, since you asked, I personally would just rather wait till the next one. I just would like to see sort of what some of the budget impacts might be on going to that higher rate, especially where some of the, for the 4-day and 5-day, it's either at the 25% or below. I mean, I don't know. That's just me. If everyone else is ready to vote on it, that's fine. But like, if we have that consideration of moving it up to the LEAP numbers, like what does that make budget-wise, like for a difference?
But
I'm confused on the question.
But that's the goal.
No, like, he's asking about, like, will it help?
I mean, where we have a wait
Stuff
list
in
too,
the
like
budget.
there's obviously a demand for it, and we're just looking at a really tough budget cycle. I just don't want to be short-sighted and say at 25 when we have a goal of higher. I just am curious, like what reaching that higher goal early, what that means for our budget, for our operating budget for next year. In theory, obviously,
Right.
dependent on who enrolls and everything like that, but, I mean, if we just have a sense of projection, is it an extra $20,000 offset, $40,000? I don't know what the numbers are, but that might be worth looking at. And if the numbers are more advantageous, I mean, maybe families would just say, I don't want to do the 2-day because economically it doesn't make sense. I'd rather just do the 3-day or 4-day or 5-day or whatever. I don't know. But that's just me. If everyone else is ready to move on it, then that's fine.
I mean, that, to that point, and I'm willing to wait too, is the offset worth it enough to the impact that we'll have on families making that huge of a leap? So if we did 25, that's another thing to consider.
If we did 50 instead of 25.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do 50 because 50 puts above LEAP.
It puts every, yeah.
So we'd go to the LEAP.
Right, but
A couple of them.
But whatever it is, 41, 43, whatever those numbers are, right?
If we went all the way to make it LEAP equitable at this point, what would that impact be? And
What would that LEAP be?
What would that leap be?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I got you.
if I may, Mr. Chair.
Please.
So one of the many things I'm trying to get underneath is the kind of state of affairs with our revolving accounts, and this is what Stephen, what you're getting at is what is the impact of an increase in revenue to this particular revolving account. So I certainly could put together just kind of a rough, like, what does that mean and what would that look like? I would need to get very specific information, in terms of, of these enrollment numbers that we're looking at. Some of these are 2-day tuition, some of these are 3. So I would need a very much more specific breakdown from the child care program. But I could certainly put together a projection in terms of, I want to be, I think the question around operating is a tricky one because we want to be very careful about continuing to push operating expenses onto the backs of revolving funds, right? So, it's I would be cautious, but I can certainly put that together. I'd be happy to.
Well, I'm going to propose that we table this for now and take it up at the next meeting after Dr. Kelly presents more information. I feel like they're not just Stephen, there are multiple of us who may benefit from that. So, thank you, Dr. Kelly.
My pleasure. Thank you.
one more for you.
And one more for you. Discussion of the Education Cooperative request for capital limit increase.
So I apologize again. I added this memo to your folders, or I either emailed it or put it in the folders. I can't recall at this point. This is fairly straightforward. We had this conversation last spring as well, as Tech sought to increase their capital reserve. So we're having this conversation again. So in essence, what Tech is, I don't want to say requesting, because this does not require an upvote of the committee. It requires a dissenting vote. If you disagree, you have to vote to say no. But otherwise, we just need to inform you of what's happening. So in essence, what this is doing is increasing their capital reserve limit. It's just the limit on their savings account from $750,000 to $3.5 million. So under the new executive director, Emily Parks, who's the former superintendent in Westwood, has been just doing what any new leader does and really kind of getting in and coming to understand all the ins and outs of any organization. And this is attached to a number of, as you can see in the bullets, of course, I don't have it up on the screen. Why would I do that? There are a number of issues going on with the current facility, and in the long run, there may be interest in purchasing a facility, and what this allows to do is to start building towards a down payment on a potential facility. So they're just, and again, this is not saying we're going to put 3.5 million in the capital reserve. It's simply saying we're going to increase the limit on that savings account. So, yeah, that's it. You need to be informed, but if you do not agree with that, then you would need to take a vote to not agree.
Mrs. Briggs?
Yeah, this is not going to cost Dedham a dime, correct?
No, basically, if they run a surplus in any given year, this allows them to transfer those funds into this savings account. Transfer more. Last year, they were requesting, they had the surplus funds, and they wanted to get that into the reserve, and they needed everybody to be aware or vote to disapprove the movement.
I was gonna say, did we do something on this last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it was?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other discussion around this?
So no action is action.
Any dissenting opinions? I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kelly, for all of that.
My pleasure.
Subcommittee updates. We've just got budget communications.
Not on there.
What?
It's not supposed to be on there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Curriculum advisory?
Nope.
Nothing. Facilities?
There was a very decent turnout for the solar discussion that was held last week, and there is another discussion, just like the superintendent hit on in our update, on the 24th, right, at 7 p.m. at the middle school. So
next week.
Just to recap, in case you're a neighbor of the high school parking lot or Avery, middle school or ECEC, you may be more interested in that, but it's open to the whole community, and I would encourage the community to attend.
Yeah, and anyone who was in a butter, or as we determined, if you can see the project or the school from your home, they've received a hand-dropped flyer.
Thank you both for braving the cold.
Because it wasn't cold
That might have been the
enough.
nice day. That might have been the nice day.
No,
but
it
either
was
way.
freezing.
Either way.
Yes.
But that's it for
Thank you.
right now.
Financial policy review?
I think the next meeting we have is the 29th. To be determined.
With a smile.
And Nancy hasn't sent out a notice yet, but I think that,
Yeah, because that's when we canceled it.
yeah.
Negotiations?
Not at this time.
Parks and Rec? Policy?
Yes, we met on January 9th, and we discussed several different policies, one being KF, which is the community use of school facilities. Our kind of conclusion when we left that meeting was we needed to gather a little bit more information regarding the norms for police details from other school districts in our state, and Ian was working on that and had sent some information to us. So we will need to reconvene at some point to discuss that further. And the concern, just to refresh everybody's memory, was that it's costing PTOs more money to run an event, so they're losing money when they're hosting events in the schools in part because of that fee. We also talked about policy BDE, which is subcommittees of the school committee. And, again, this was just a discussion. We've reached out. Stephen sent an email to all of the chairs of the subcommittee, so if everybody could just take a look at that. Our hope is to add a BDEE so that we can specify with a little bit more clarity what each of our subcommittees are charged with. And then under old and new business, we spoke again about the flag policy. It's been a year since we first brought that up, and there has been a little bit more movement in some of the other districts around developing policy. So again, we're kind of back to like an information gathering stage around that before we come with next steps.
Thank you. And SBRC.
Next meeting is Monday, January 22nd, 6:30 PM, Town Hall.
Or Zoom. Or Zoom.
Oh, Zoom, yes.
They used to the zoo. The zoo.
I know.
Feels like a zoo
At the zoo.
The zoo.
Going to
Well, there's a donation in the folder. Dr. Kelly? You're still on, man. This guy.
It's actually from Nan. The letter's from Nan.
I was going to say,
Our superintendent, Generally, our finance person does this part.
You're also not coming to superintendent generally, though.
It is a,
Pulling the donation up as we speak. So we have, the superintendent has submitted a letter. We have a generous donation from the Paper Store in Legacy Place, who recently held a fundraiser called the Gift of Giving Charity. A portion of the proceeds from this event was donated to the Dedham Public Schools, in total $573. These funds would be used to enrich the education of our students. So we would ask for your endorsement of and a vote to accept these generous donation from the Paper Store.
This is the second donation this year already from the Paper Store
Yes.
at Legacy. So, anyone out there that's listening, go buy a card or something. I mean, it's a nice thing that they're being
so much more than card.
Oh, I know. Go buy yourself a nice little padded bag.
I know.
Yeah. But I would
Mr.
like to
Acosta.
move-
Sorry.
I was going to make the motion, so go for it.
Go right ahead.
Move to accept the donation in the amount of $573 from the Paper Store at Legacy Place with extra grateful appreciation.
Second with extra grateful appreciation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The chair votes
That's
aye.
very nice.
Thank you to the Paper Store.
I'm gonna go do some shopping.
Thank you.
And thank you to Dr. Kelly for opening his laptop. We are on to the previous minutes. We do have minutes from the December 12th joint meeting with the Select Board and the SPRC, and from our January 3rd meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review these minutes? Yes.
Have an issue with January 3rd?
What's your issue?
Comment, concern.
Comment, concern?
Comment, concern?
Page 7, executive session, it's 5-0, it should be 6-0. Only down one board member, Dr. Gallant.
Oh, okay.
But I will make that motion to approve those minutes with that minor immaterial change.
That's for the
Absolutely.
January 3rd.
January
January 3rd.
3rd, yep.
Yeah, so you do them different because there's different people voting different things. I will make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Polito. And for the December 12th meeting?
I abstained
Yeah,
from that.
That's right.
I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. And
I did too.
we were all there for this meeting.
no, we're not.
Any comments around the minutes for the December 12th meeting?
I was not
I was not
present, so I'll
there.
abstain.
All right, so I'll make that motion to accept the December 12th minute, the December 12th joint meeting minutes.
Any second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
And 2 abstentions. Thank you. And thank you to Ginger.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot.
I'm going to bring this up, and I brought it up 2 years ago, and I'm going to bring it up every year until I'm dead. Meeting minutes are not supposed to be verbatim. They are supposed to capture the tenor of the meeting and discussion points. 9, 11, 15 pages of there's no need. If people want this amount of detail, go and watch because you're reading literally the transcription of the meeting.
Read the damn time.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean,
We'll talk to her. We just have her scale it back.
it is.
It's less work for her.
This is, kind of overkill to say the least. And
thorough.
it's unnecessary for her to make herself crazy with trying to get every single word down. That's all.
I agree. We definitely will have a conversation just to, release her from any of this.
Poor thing.
Any old or new business?
I have new business.
What's your new business?
I know that last week there was an unauthorized person in the high school, and there was some communications that go out. I don't know the right process would be if that's a report from the superintendent's office, from the high school. A lot of my kind of concerns about that was that, we found out, at least I found out as the board 20 minutes before the town found out, that the district found out, which was 24 hours after the event that had happened. And it was almost like we were playing defense, like playing catch-up, trying to get ahead of a story that already got out there. That, some of the stories that were heard were out of a movie, some of the situations, and kind of like what happened, why the delay. Is there anything we can kind of do from either a policy or a practice to kind of stay ahead of that conversation, and where those may be the I don't want to say pitfalls, but kind of where we miss it.
Budget and hiring and firing a superintendent are charges. This is day-to-day operations. And just because people want to make big deals and exaggerate stories doesn't mean that we react to that, right?
No, but I think that so from a policy perspective, I guess I'm going to revisit that as policy. Is there a way that communication that we can, govern, I guess, control communication out to the district? I don't think that the district should have waited 24 hours. It's my personal opinion. And if it's outside of our charge, then it's outside of our charge. Okay, if I'm alone in the comment, then I'm alone in the comment. I'm fine with it.
It's definitely a valid question, and Man's right. Like we do have a very that's an operational thing. It does cross a line when it gets into if say we're getting called because some news report or some kid sent a message to their parents and then they're calling you or me or whoever, right? When we should go call the superintendent because that's where this is coming from, right? I think it's hard to legislate every eventuality, even in the age of social media and in the age of cell phones, because we're always going to be playing defense for something. Something's out there, so we have to figure out what the true story is, and that takes time. We can't rush out as fast as a parent on Facebook, right? So that's kind of where I sit with it. We can put any policies we want in place. It's still going to be out of our control, right? And I actually think the administration got it out as fast as they could, given the fact that there was already this narrative out there around stuff, in a very clarifying way to us, who can also go out and get this information out, right? I don't know. I think it's impossible to do that in an efficient way and make it work every time. We just sort of play it on a play-by-play basis.
I can add a little clarity.
Yeah.
I don't mind adding a little clarity to that. I will tell you that as a new leader, veteran leaders are learning my expectations, and this was an opportunity for us to calibrate some of our practices. My expectation is that I am aware when things like that happen. So you found out about 10 minutes after I found out. So that's an opportunity for Mr. Forrest and I to have a conversation about how we communicate events. One, to me, that I'm aware of everything, and two, that out to the community. So it's a learning opportunity, and we're working on tightening up those. But I want the community to be assured that I am very transparent and will tell you as much as I can, as soon as I can.
No, I mean, like I said, I think that from the communications that we got, the situation was handled, appropriately and expeditiously, and nobody was ever in danger, and a lot of the stories are running true. I just hope that the communication, I think, could be, faster and try to stay ahead of some of these stories. And I get to your point, Victor, like with social media and at that age level, everybody's got a cell phone. Things are going to go out incredibly quickly, and as wrong or as adventurous as they want to make the story sound, with the embellishments. But I think that, I personally think 24 hours is a tough turnaround time. and it felt like we were playing catch-up. I think it made the news before these, so.
You made your point.
Okay, I made my point. There was my point.
Okay.
So.
No, there was a point. It's good. No, it did. Listen, I hopped on Facebook, which I don't ever do anymore these days, to see what was there, and I saw 8 different stories. So it's like, yeah, pick one, throw a dart, or call the superintendent and find out what happened. Really. Any other old or new business? Acknowledgements and announcements.
Good feeling. Okay, I have an announcement, I guess.
What's your announcement?
That Mr. Acosta shared with everybody today. I figured you were gonna do that, right? No, you can do it. It's like-
Let me pull up the exact date. There we go. So Dedham High Hockey and Friends of Dedham High Marauders Hockey are hosting a doubleheader at Nobles on Saturday, January 20th. There's no entry fee, but there's donations accepted, including a chuck-a-puck contest. Looking forward to that. But all proceeds go to Team Christine, and that obviously we all know how just impactful Ms. Steck was for students, and what a great organization this is, and what they're trying to accomplish. So I'll be there, and I hope to see fellow school committee members and members of the public. That's January 20th at Nobles. Begins at 3:15 for the girls' game and 5:30 for the boys' game.
Cool.
I'm super bummed I can't make it. I'll be in Hopkinton if anybody wants to join me.
I would like to acknowledge, again, we did this at the beginning, but the Martin Luther King celebration the other night at the middle school was phenomenal. Like, it was, the further you get away from like these historical events that really shaped everyone's lives and just made it better for lots and lots of people, even like today, the further you get from those events, the further the impact of it feels to you. So it behooves us to really have things like that night to bring it home, right? And then the attendance in the room, like everyone there, like of all, colors, creeds, backgrounds, age groups, it was pretty phenomenal. And I'm glad that I got to be a part of it. And it makes me proud to be a Dedham resident, to know that the Human Rights Commission and other groups involved are actually putting in and doing that hard work of really celebrating who we are diversity-wise and rights-wise, and really keeping us in touch with our history. So that's great job. Mr. Polito.
Can I also add one thing out of that? The Human Rights Commission did an amazing event. It was an amazing event, but also a huge shout out to all the local vendors that supplied all of the food
absolutely.
At zero cost. I think there were 6 different restaurants involved.
I think so, yeah.
Lottie, Salem Foods, MIT Endicott House was incredibly generous to the school department.
Halfway?
Who was that? Halfway.
Don't name, there's so many. I don't want to miss anyone.
Yeah. That was, you're right. You're absolutely right.
It was great.
Okay. We have no need for executive session this evening. Yay. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.